What's good, guys and gals? It is JohnnyTheFlash, and patch 1.09 for Guilty Gear Strive is finally here, bringing Jacko, waifu herself, along with a couple of our first balance adjustments for the game since it has come out. So I'm gonna go over all the changes, all the major changes for all the characters. Talk about the buffs, talk about the nerfs, talk about the in-betweens, do all that good stuff. And we are going to start off with Anji. So first of all, Anji has had his far slash have decreased recovery, which is making it a lot better as a poke. There are a couple of changes like this in this patch. A bunch of characters that have buttons that are supposed to be used in neutral that are a little bit hard to use are getting buffed. So Anji's one of them. Anji's 5S is actually his far slash has had decreased recovery, which will make it a lot more reliable as a poke. This was already one of Anji's better pokes, but it was a little bit too high commitment for what it was. Next up, and really the only other changes that Anji has gotten are to Fujin, but they are big changes, guys. So first of all, Fujin has had its cancel ability extended to being able to be canceled during startup and on whiff. This is amazing. Anji gets access to all of his follow-ups for Fujin in neutral now. This is a very big change for Anji, big for his mix-up game, big for his mid-screen presence. Fujin itself has had the range that it covers also increased. It covers a longer distance. Or it has been it says increased forward movement here, so I'm guessing that means it covers more range. And the hitbox does not come out until he's done pushing forward. This is giving Anji a lot more options to use Fujin both in neutral and in mix-ups. And it just makes Fujin overall just a better feeling and more respectable move in general, because now you have to watch out for Fujin follow-ups from neutral, and you have to watch out from Fujin follow-ups from mid-screen and things like that. So this is a pretty big buff for Anji. I think it's going to make him feel a lot better. I think it's going to make him play a lot better. I think it's going to give him a lot more options and a lot more ability to put pressure on opponents. A couple of his Fujin follow-ups were also touched. So Anji's punch follow-up for Fujin has been buffed. This has more active frames now, and it also has a bigger hitbox. So it is harder to like jump out of this move if you're late, and it's harder to backdash out of this move now. So if we do this and then do Anji's punch follow-up, you can see that he actually gets hit trying to jump out there. And I do not think that happened before. I think before you could kind of just backdash out of there, and because this didn't cover as much distance, you could just do that and be fine. But now you actually have to respect this option a lot more. Like, you have to jump this, I think. Just allowing this move to kind of lock down the options it's supposed to seemingly lock down. And then the next change is, and the last change is to his fan super. So Sai just has a bigger hitbox now. Not really much else to say about that. Just it has a bigger hitbox. Anji getting some good changes though. Anji getting some very good changes. I think that these Fujin buffs are definitely gonna make him feel a lot better. All right, next up we got the British boy himself, Axel. So Axel doesn't have that many changes actually, but the changes that he does have are meaningful. First off, Axel has had the startup of Snail actually decreased. So the startup is faster on Snail, which means that it now combos into his jabs off of normal hits, off of standing hits, which is extremely good. Axel's jabs are pretty good jabs, but they didn't have a whole lot that you got off of them on the ground. If you hit somebody as a jab, or if you jab somebody as an anti-air, you got a lot. But generally, Axel's jabs did not give you too much. Axel, his grounded damage is a little bit lacking unless he spins meter as well. So giving him another confirm into Snail off of jab is very meaningful. And I'm assuming off of, you know, some other things you can do this as well. Yeah, like you can do this off of 2K. You might have been able to do that before. I don't believe you could. You can, you know, you can do some other things with it. You can, you know, roam and cancel it if you want to. Get that little bit of extra damage in there. It's pretty nice. Next change for Axel is that he got buffs to One Vision. One Vision can now be canceled into its ready stance from any special move. He can pretty much just combo you and then set up One Vision. This is huge for Axel because it's going to give him the ability to set up One Vision more, and it's going to give him the ability to also get more combos off with One Vision, because not only did they buff the ability to get this move set up by making it cancelable out of specials, but they also made it so that whenever Axel activates One Vision, his tension penalty, so the penalty to the tension that he gets, is actually the time that he has that penalty is decreased. So Axel's going to be able to start getting meter back a lot sooner and have access to his other things for combos with One Vision. Next, we're coming up with the boy Chipp. So Chipp's one major change is that they finally nerfed this move. They have finally done it, boys. They have finally nerfed J2K. There is a catch, which I will get to, but this move is overall going to be a lot easier to anti-air. The hurt box behind and in front of him, as well as below him, has been expanded. So it just has a bigger hurt box. This move had a really, really oppressive habit of just beating pretty much any anti-air that was not directly above you. It would just beat it. Any anti-air that did not throw a hitbox on your head, Chipp would kind of just beat it, and he'd be in your face, and he'd hit you with all the overheads, and you get messed up. Especially in the corner, it was extremely, extremely difficult to deal with for certain characters. It kind of... I don't think it would be an overstatement to say this move single-handedly won matchups for Chipp, or made certain matchups for him way easier than they probably should have been. Just because if you didn't have an anti-air that could answer this move specifically, there wasn't really much of anything you could do about it. But now, even Anji over here, who recently had a lot of trouble anti-airing this move, even he can do it. Yeah, this move is definitely going to be a lot more consistent to anti-air. Still a little bit difficult, especially if you don't have something above you or a hitbox above you directly. But the point is that the move isn't going to flat out just crush anti-airs or every anti-air in the game pretty much anymore. That's not a DP. There is a catch. They made the knockback on hit and block reduced. So he's going to be in your face more, whether you hit it or block it. So you actually have to anti-air it now. Or you are more incentivized to anti-air it now, as opposed to before you could kind of just block it and then try to do something about it when it had more pushback. But now that it has less pushback, you have definitely got to be wide awake in trying to anti-air this, or it's going to ruin your day still. Only other changes to Chipp really were far standing slash. So far slash had its lower hitbox reduced. So I'm guessing they're trying to make this move more low profilable. And then they made crouching slash carry more momentum from dashes. The biggest change to Chipp was definitely J2K, and the move being made more consistently anti-airable. Alrighty, next up is the arbiter of SeaWorld herself, the destroyer of worlds and the crusher of dreams, May. I know we were all hoping this character would get shot in the foot. We were all hoping that, you know, Totsugeki gonna be -10 on block. You know, overhead kiss, not gonna combo anymore or something. I don't know. We were all hoping this character would get nerfed good bit. She got touched. Didn't get touched a whole lot. She even got a couple buffs, but we're gonna get into that. Her far slash has a lower hurt box and a low has a decreased low hurt box and a decreased low hit box. So it's just smaller. Both of the hurt box and the hit box extend less far down. So I'm guessing this is also another change for low profiles. This is probably mostly only going to affect moves that are supposed to low profile though, because it still hits you crouching from like max range. Next we have 2S. This move was an extremely oppressive poke. It could be in a lot of instances. It's pretty low committal. It had a very hard time getting whiff punished, and it was pretty active. They have reduced the active frames, they have made it less active, and they have extended the hurt box that is connected to her when she throws this out, so you can whiff punish this more easily. Next is standing heavy slash. This move actually got buffed. This move has had decreased recovery and increased active frames to seemingly more so balance it out with far slash. This move did have a lot of recovery for the amount of range that it covered. It's still pretty big, but I can to an extent understand where they were thinking with this. Now on to the most interesting change that May has gotten, and this is the last change that she has gotten outside of bug fixes, is that overhead kiss now does less damage but extends or throws the opponent away less far. So she throws the opponent less far, letting you get a actual follow-up attack with a normal afterward, but the damage has actually been decreased. So this move used to do 40 damage plus 50. It now does 30 damage plus 40, so it does a whole 20 damage less overall. It does 70 damage as opposed to 90. This is actually quite possibly a slight buff or a slight nerf, depending on how you think of it. Technically, following this up with 5H gives you more damage than the old 90. It gives you 92. But overall, this is more so of a change than a buff or a nerf, in my personal opinion. You get 2 more damage off of this follow-up right here than you did off of the old command throw by itself. I'm just gonna go with this as kind of a change. Like, this is more of a change to just how you have to approach this move, and giving you a little bit more to do while still not trying to make the move itself any better or worse. Kai mains rejoice. Next up is White Bread Man himself, Kai Kisk. He has been graced with buffs from Arxis, and he is coming with a vengeance for all who have wronged him. So first off, his far slash has had its recovery decreased, and it has been made more affected by dash momentum like Chipp 2S. What is important about this is that it makes it a better poke overall, and it makes it less committal. You've seen a lot of like these neutral buttons, like these 5S's and 2S's getting buffed in this patch. So they seem to be trying to like address certain characters' ability to approach neutral, like Anji and Kai. This move had a lot of overlap with 2S, and I think that's what they're trying to kind of address with this change to 5S, to far slash. 2K has decreased knockback, so that's a thing. It knocks back less. I don't really exactly know what that helps. I guess it makes combos more consistent or something, or like gives you more room to kind of mix up when you're close. I don't know. And now for probably the 2 biggest things that they honestly probably could have changed about Kai, aside from this making it an actual overhead. Anyways, they gave Stun Dipper a big buff. Stun Dipper now moves further in. It moves deeper in, so that the follow-up attack actually connects in combos. Because what would happen is you would get a hit confirmed from, you know, half screen, and the first part would hit, second part would not. You would not be close enough sometimes. The second part would whiff, and you would actually be in a worse position just because you decided to try and combo. I don't really think this move had business whiffing in combos anyways, so I'm glad they changed this. It's very good. Very consistent now that they have changed it. Another change to Stun Dipper is that you are now closer to the opponent after the move is over, so it makes it a lot easier for Kai to actually continue his pressure. Now, Dragon Install. We have gotten to it, boys. Dragon Install has finally graciously been buffed. So, Dragon Install. First thing you will notice, Startup's been decreased. Startup was extremely long before. It made it extremely limiting and extremely difficult to set up Dragon install. So that has been decreased pretty significantly, as well as has the tension penalty. So just like Axel got his tension penalty, the amount of time that he can't get as much meter decreased, so did Kai. So Kai, this is a big deal for Kai, because one of the main problems with Dragon install was that Kai did not get access to his meter nearly as much. And meter is pretty important for Kai. His best combo ender is probably Ride the Lightning. And that's his main way of breaking wall. That's one of his best ways of really cashing out damage. And he just didn't get it if he was in Dragon install because he got no meter. So now that Kai gets access to his meter game back earlier when he transforms, it is going to give you a lot more opportunities to actually come back in rounds, actually get access to your RC mix-ups, actually get access to Ride the Lightning to cash out and in rounds. So overall, that is extremely, extremely good for him as well. The hitbox on Dragon install has also been expanded on the startup of the transformation. It now hits from very far. It hits from like almost mid-screen now. This makes it so that Kai can actually now get Dragon install off of a lot of knockdowns. So this is basically going to make it so that Kai can get his Dragon install pretty much set up off of a lot of different scenarios where he couldn't before. Like for instance, max range sweeps for max range. Do not think this was possible before. I think if you tried to do that in somebody's face after a max range sweep, you could actually get punished there. But now you knock them away. So you can actually hit confirm into Dragon install, combo into it, and now you're there. Now you're gaming. This is huge for Kai. A lot of people always felt like it wasn't worth it compared to giving up the meter that you would use for RCs and for Ride the Lightning. And it seems like they're kind of trying to even out that risk versus reward. All right, next up we have Ino, and in my opinion, Ino is probably, like, if there was a winner of this patch, honestly, Ino would probably be it. First off, they increased the movement speed and the distance of her aerial dash and her hover dash. So she now goes further and moves faster when dashing. A big issue that Ino had was that a lot of her approach, especially in neutral, was extremely difficult for her to approach because you could just react to it, and it was extremely slow. So she had a lot of trouble kind of pushing her advantage because she just moved around so slow. And this is pretty good for her. She moves around the screen a lot faster now. It makes her a lot more difficult to react to. Especially when she's doing all the crazy BS on you, you're going to notice this. Next change to Ino is that you now have a standing heavy slash that floats the opponent on grounded hit and is faster. They sped up the startup of this move, and they made it so that it floats you on grounded hit. This is huge for Ino. You can get combos from this now. This was one of Ino's better buttons. In a lot of instances, you could throw out this button and it could contest a lot of things. I believe the button is disjointed, if I remember correctly. So seeing this button get a buff is extremely, extremely good for Ino. It gives her like a combo starter that does not require a counter hit, doesn't require a meter. I'm not an Ino player. I don't know what exactly the applications of this are, but this floating on normal hit is going to be extremely, extremely interesting for Ino players to get to mess around with. So 2K now has reduced knockback. Her sweep now has reduced knockback on hit, so she gets a better Oki situation. And then use her projectile, she can. It puts her in a lot better situation to actually engage her set play. So that's pretty good for her. And if she doesn't want to set play, you're closer to her, so she can just go for her mix a lot easier. It's going to be a lot more difficult for you to react to anything that she might do after knocking you down with 2D. Ino's air dust also got a buff, adjusted the hit effect on grounded opponents, increasing the time allowed for follow-up attacks. So I noticed that now when Ino hits you with air dust, you do this little pop-up, kind of like Gio's close slash. Actually, you do this little pop-up, and I'm guessing that the purpose of this, it lifts you off the ground. It's like a mini launcher, and I'm guessing that the purpose of this is to allow you to hit confirm off of this more easily. That is what I am guessing this is for. I do not know Ino tech. I don't know the applications that she could do off of getting, you know, that little lifted floaty effect. But based on what I read in the patch notes, this seems to partially be for you to be able to just hit confirm more easily from her air dust. So yeah, there's that. That is a good change as well. Stroke the Big Tree's heavy slash version now has reduced the knockback, once again putting you in a better position to mix you up after, once again putting you in her face, giving her the ability to keep asserting her pressure. Ultimate Fortissimo now moves forward more, so I'm guessing they probably did this to give it more consistency when used in combos, possibly, and things like that. I do not exactly know what this change is directed towards, but Ultimate Fortissimo does now have more forward distance. Ino overall got a lot of buffs. Ino got a lot of things that basically just enhance her ability to play her game and set up for herself. Ino had a hard time kind of getting in and doing what she was supposed to do before. She was pretty slow. A lot of her things were pretty easy to react to because they gave you a lot more breathing room than they do now. And a lot of her offensive tools have just been straight up buffed and straight up made more dangerous and more difficult to actually react to. So I think Ino is probably one of the most buffed characters in this patch. She seems to have a lot going for her this patch. All right, Nagoryuki. Nagoryuki didn't get that many changes. His list of changes is actually pretty short. So first off, 6P is faster. His second change is that the final hit of his /target combo now drains more blood. He gets more blood back for the final follow-up hit of his target combo. So they're rewarding you for getting that little hit confirm there. You get a little bit more blood back. Managing your blood meter, you're vibing. His super, his invincible super, now no longer goes into the cinematic when you hit with the very tip of the attack. I think they're using this so that you can't kind of just throw this out on an opponent trying to space you and still get the full amount of damage. Nago's last change seems to be that unless you wall break, no matter where you are on the screen, you will get pushed away from him after he connects with his invincible super. I don't know why anybody at Arxis thought Leo needed buffs, but he got one. The boring change is that Leo now gets to dash while pressing the dash button in Brynhilder stance. He moves forward and back. The other change is that Leo now gets to jump cancel and dash cancel his back turned 5K. This is absolutely insane for his mix-up. I don't really know why they thought he needed this. Why Arxis thought that this character needed to be able to jump and dash cancel a +3 on block standing low, I will never know, but he has it now. Faust got a couple of buffs. First of all, his standing heavy slash now has increased active frames and increased damage on the follow-up. It's pretty chunky. Faust crouching heavy slash has a decreased hurt box on startup and a hitbox that is slightly extended. This might mean that the move is slightly disjointed now, however, I'm not sure. J2K has had the startup decreased as well as reduced the hurt box on it before the attack comes out and adjusted knockback on hit. So in general, Faust dive kick is harder to contest and faster on startup. It also leaves him further back on hit, it seems. Faust now has an actual super. Bone crushing incitement finally wall breaks in the corner. Have no idea why it didn't do this before, but hey. Faust gets the same mechanic as everybody else in the game now. Let's go. He also gets more distance put between him and the opponent when he doesn't wall break. And he's more plus afterwards too. Overall, these changes are pretty good for Faust's neutral and give him a better ability to cash out on grounded combos and things like that. It's good to see Faust get some changes. Goldlewis has a few changes. First of all, his landing recovery on the final hit of his dust combo is now changed to match the other characters. I don't know if this means that he came down before or after he was supposed to, but I guess that's fixed now. His 2K has reduced knockback. .6p is faster now. Skyfish now has its hit effect changed depending on security level. At level 2, it gives a soft knockdown. And at level 3, it gives a hard knockdown. Goldlewis is arguably the worst character in the game, and I don't think these buffs really address his core issues. So I honestly don't think they're going to do much. Meaty 6K for Potemkin is now more advantaged. The latter active frames have less recovery, and the move has less recovery overall. Cheat Knuckle now builds a lot more risk when blocked. It gives you more meter gain as well. Giovanna 6p now combos from 5p. This has always been a Gatling. Geo 6p can now combo from 5p. This has always been a Gatling, but for some reason it never comboed, not even on counter hit. Geo's only other change is that her 6H Rekka now knocks down on final hit. This makes it a little bit more worth to use it over other combo enders in certain situations. Ramlethal's air heavy slash has seen nerfs to his hitbox both in front of her, behind her, and below her. This move had an extremely domineering hitbox and would completely beat out some anti-airs and even air-to-airs, so it makes sense that they would make it easier to space around. Zato moves forward further. Goes a good bit of further distance. Ressa Ordino now floats the opponent on grounded hit, but only when both swords are equipped. I have no idea what the applications of this are. Zato has seen significant buffs to his standing heavy slash. It now has even more active frames, and during the extra active frames, the hitbox extends out even further. This makes this move overall much better. 6p has faster startup and will cause the opponent to lift off the ground on grounded hit. If you try to recall Eddie while he's doing something, he'll now come back faster. I believe that this is to help you conserve your meter and threaten with Eddie while still keeping your other options open. Now on to the big guy himself, Soul Badguy. This character has the longest list of changes in the entire patch, and it is no surprise to anyone as to why. This character was a menace. First of all, his 2K has reduced knockback. Cool. Bar Slash has increased knockback and increased damage scaling. So you get a little bit more breathing room during his pressure now, and any conversions he gets off of Far Slash are now also scaled more. 2S has more active frames, and during the new active frames it now gets longer range. I don't know if this means the latter part of the move is also disjointed, but it definitely has more range at the latter part now. 6S has a decreased upwards and downwards hitbox, and the hurtbox on Soul's feet is larger. I think this means that this move will not snuff jumps and other movement attempts as often. Grounded Volcanic Viper, the Slash version, now has more active frames, but also more recovery. This makes it more effective as an anti-air, but also more punishable. Bandit Bringer has greatly increased knockback compared to before. The aerial version has increased knockback and increased landing recovery for when you whiff it. This means that Soul has to think a lot more when using it to vary his jump timing. And the opponent also gets more room to breathe on both versions. Wall Throw actually got a buff. You can now RC it for combos. I don't play Soul. It's also now more plus. Overall, Soul is still probably an extremely strong character and probably still top 1, considering the other characters didn't get super large changes either. But this brings him a little bit more in line with the rules that everybody else has to follow, and it means that the opponent can actually get some leeway in from his pressure, and he can't continually do it mindlessly. Now on to Millia. First of all, her heavy slash has less recovery. This makes it more liberal to use as a poke and in neutral. It's very nice. This version of Tandem Top has a higher projectile speed, which means that you could use it in combos that you used to not be able to, and it also changes some existing ones. That used to not work. It also changes some existing corner combos, giving you a higher launch and a little bit more time to follow up. This could have applications for new combos, but for now I don't really know anything. And last is, let's see here. So yeah, the startup on Lust Shaker has been increased, so now it actually frame traps from close normals. This is huge for her because it gives her a safe pressure ender that actually has to be respected. Maybe Arxis saw my last video. And there you have it, folks. That is the buffs, nerfs, all the changes for characters in this Guilty Gear Strive patch 1.09. If you enjoyed the video, if you learned something, if this was a useful video to you, please leave a like, leave a subscribe. Also, go follow me on Twitch, check out the Discord, and all that good stuff. Appreciate you guys for all the support that I have gotten on my channel lately. What your Guilty Gear Strive main says about you just really blew up in a way I never expected. Thank you guys for all the love. We are now past, we're like at 1.5 thousand subscribers right now, so thank you guys so much. I'm gonna keep trying to put out content for you guys in between, you know, me going to college and me doing XYZ. So hopefully you guys stick around and continue enjoying the content. Without any further ado, guys, this has been JohnnyTheFlash, and